Wild. Over 4.5 years, basically 2 whole console generations and an entire president came and went since the last episode of critically acclaimed series Rookie's Mind. I haven't even uploaded a video to this channel in about 3 years, but I still get the occasional subscriber, people who just stumble across old episodes of the show, and even an incredible amount of people who still to this day check in and rewatch the series in anticipation of its final episode. To be honest, I wasn't even sure if I was even going to touch this series again. The fact that this series hasn't been completed yet has just become a complete in-joke amongst my friends. I honestly almost thought about just running through the last 2 episodes just as pure gameplay and releasing that as the episode. I almost decided I was going to make a complete joke out of it and make a complete parody that was self-aware of how awful some of the older episodes were. To tell you the truth, I was absolutely exhausted by the idea of working on this series, and I was dreading the day ODST was going to be released to PC. That day came and went, and for 2 weeks I didn't touch that game. Until finally I joined a Discord call with 2 of my friends that literally started with them laughing and saying they were going to finish Rookie's Mind for me by making a parody of it. And I said, that sounds awesome. I'd love to see what you guys come up with, and it'd save me a lot of work. I don't think they expected to hear that level of encouragement from the guy that actually created the series. I think as soon as I flipped it on them, they realized how much work it was going to be to even make a parody version of Rookie's Mind, so I didn't hear about that again after that. But I think then I realized it was time. I had waited long enough, a lot of people really enjoy the series, and it needs an actual ending, and not just a shitty low-effort one. Every episode of this series since its very beginning has been a technical hurdle and a storytelling achievement for me. Every episode so much more polished and improved from the last. So no, I don't just want to be ambitious with this finale. I want to do something truly groundbreaking in the genre of machinima. And, if I can pull it off, something that can stand alone on its own merit, a full-on short film for the ending of Rookie's Mind. Look at me, I'm George Lucas, so fucking What? So, against my better judgment, and probably because I needed some new, horrifically difficult task to give myself, I am officially working on the final episode of Rookie's Mind. So with that, on to the devlog. Why am I making a devlog? That doesn't make any sense. Who makes a devlog for a video? Simple, of course, because it's just taking too goddamn long. I've been actively working on this episode for over a month now, and I haven't even gotten to the part where I can film anything yet, which I'll get into later. There is so much that goes into the making of a Rookie's Mind episode that I've always wanted to and kind of regret not making any behind-the-scenes content or bloopers for this series before. Because boy, I remember some great AI encounters on Mombasa streets that would totally and suddenly throw the whole shot, and I would have to go and deal with that and figure out some way to stitch together that part that I cut out. And the real reason is that I realized that this episode is just going to take a really long time to make. A few months from now, people are going to be like, oh, ODST's been on PC for a while, I wonder if that guy made more Rookie's Mind. And then they'll check the channel, and there won't be anything there. And they'll say, oh, I guess Rookie's Mind isn't going to happen, that sucks. And then they'll leave, and they'll forget about it, and then like 6 months from now, or however long it's going to take, I'll release the episode, and it'll only get like 25 views, because nobody knew it was going to happen. I mean, there's a bunch of Discords and subreddits I can share it to where people will find it, but I really want to give the OG fans a chance to get hyped for the series, and then I can get a better idea of what kind of engagement this series has. Like, are there just 20 of you who have watched the episodes like 100 times, or have 2,000 separate people actually watched almost every episode of Rookie's Mind? Because honestly, I'm pretty proud of those numbers, even though YouTube has changed drastically in the past several years, and you really can't make money on this platform anymore. Anyways, calling it a devlog is contentious. Like, what, are you developing a game? Well, in fact, yes, that is almost exactly what it feels like. You know how in filmmaking there's pre-production where you write the thing, and then there's production where you film the thing, and then there's post-production where you edit it? Well, there's this awesome other stage that almost never gets talked about called development, where you figure out if what you're doing is even physically possible. I think Rookie's Mind is pretty neat because it's told exclusively from the eyes of the rookie himself. The only time I broke this rule was when he very briefly drove a mongoose, and only because speeding up footage of some crouch walking and then putting a mongoose dashboard over that would have looked really gross for my skill level like 8 years ago. I hadn't even graduated high school at that point. Give me a break, guys. If you could just think about what the first shot of episode 16 would have been, you'll quickly realize why it had to take waiting 4 years and ODST coming to PC for this to become even remotely possible. The last 2 missions of this game are full of cutscenes. And sure, there is a version of this episode that could have been made by just dubbing over the regular in-game cutscene, which could have worked if I didn't have to have 2 player characters in most of those shots. My original idea back in 2016 would have have been to recreate the entire cutscene with player models and green screening Dare's performance in by filming it on a firefight map. Needless to say, I didn't get very far with that. Also, that was my final year of college, so again, give me a break here. My only hope was going to be that I could somehow mod Halo's cutscene to play out from a first-person perspective. That's great. Hopefully, I can figure out how to spawn the character in during the cutscene so I can just walk around the cutscene actors. No, look, somebody already put out a mod for this on the Nexus. Maybe I can learn from this.
Better late than never. How about you show some respect, Romeo?
Oh, well, shit. Of course they would pop around from shot to shot. That's exactly how real movies work. Okay, well, maybe I can find the anchor points the characters use for each shot. That's gotta be a thing, right? Maybe in the cinematic? Nope. Maybe in the map scenario? Yes. Kinda? No. Maybe in the animation file? Maybe I just need to look harder. I'm sure somewhere in this ½ gigabyte of pure hex values there's a stream of animation data that is exactly what I need to edit. But I have no idea how I'll ever find it. But there is this frame data. This is for the camera, alright, but it only shows XYZ? Surely there is more information attached to this. And I think I know how to find out. Yep, they were all just hidden. Alright, now I have 8 values and I don't know what they are. Games use quaternions, right? Why are there 6 buttons if there are only 4 directions? Lord Zed, what the fuck am I looking at? It's a vector matrix, you retard. Of course, it's 2 XYZ values that hold direction. I learned this in Project Spark, baby's first game developer. Alright, cool, so I can basically input whatever information I want here and the game will display what I want it to. I only have to replace these 9 values for 165 frames. Oh, shot 2. And then 116 frames. Oh god, no. You see, this is why Machinima is dead. You want to do something totally trivial, and the obvious answer is just to switch to 3D and animate it all from scratch. But I'll be honest with you, I really don't want to recreate a scene-perfect, polygon-per-polygon remake of the cutscene when it's already literally right there in the game, and it's rendered by the game, and it looks like the game, and really I just suck at rendering in 3ds Max. It's impossible to get anything to look good, I've followed tutorials click for click, and it just has never worked. Alright. I'm gonna have to 3D render something at some point in this episode, so let's just use 3ds Max. I can animate the camera and export that animation to get the data I need to plug into ODST. I just need some way of automating it. You know what that means, right? Unfortunately, I do. Coding. Okay, I'm no stranger to coding. I mean, I played Project Spark, so I'm practically an expert on that subject. But yeah, I vaguely remember some of the theory from that, but that was just code blocks. It wasn't until I decided to automate something for work when I made something in AppleScript in a couple hours and realized, oh shit, coding is a thing I can do. I thought this was just smart people shit. But yeah, I had never used C++ before. I had downloaded Visual Studio and never used it. Probably because I downloaded Unreal Engine and never used it. And I feel like I only downloaded Unreal Engine with the hopes I could export animation to it from 3ds Max so I could get a fucking animation that didn't look like shit! Anyway, instead of learning how to code like some kind of a scrub, I just decided to jump in headfirst with a project that didn't seem like it would be too complicated and just Google my way to victory because, well, that's what I did with AppleScript. Okay, so here's the tag I exported. These are all the hex values that the game reads. I just have to convert the numbers from this file out of 3ds Max into hexadecimal and write them to this file. Sounds pretty easy. How do I read a file? String float. String stream. How do I convert a float to hexadecimal? Amazing! I got it to read this file and convert these 9 values into a string of hexadecimal, and it only took me 2 whole weeks. Now it's just a for loop away from being completely automatic. Hey, you know what? I have no context for where the camera's going to be for any of these shots. Maybe I should make a version of this code that works in reverse so I can get the ODST camera into 3ds Max. These values don't look right. Wait. This hex value is backwards. What the fuck? Why is my hex value backwards? What the fuck is a big endian? Ma! There's a big fucking endian outside! So anyways, that's how Rookie's Mind is going. There's more stuff getting done other than coding, but the coding is the one big hurdle right now, and it's really fucking pissing me off. The devlog seems like a good place to vent over this incredibly frustrating and specific thing that I don't think any of my friends can relate to, but hopefully this was at least a little bit entertaining, and it's also nice to just make a video for once that's a bit loose and doesn't have to be the best thing in the world. I'm not sure if this project is big enough to warrant a Patreon, but if you guys want to support me, I might think about it, especially since I have a couple other Machinima projects that I'd love to get to once Rookie's Mind is finished. Or maybe I'll just put some of my songs up on Bandcamp and you can support me that way. Really, I just have a bunch of music that I make and it sits on my hard drive and I don't do anything with it. So I guess that might be cool. And let me know if you guys are excited for more Rookie's Mind. I'll see you in the next devlog.